Stevie Nicks, the iconic voice of Fleetwood Mac, has never shied away from sharing her truth, especially regarding her deeply complicated history with bandmate and former lover, Lindsey Buckingham. Their creative partnership was legendary, but behind the scenes, cracks in their relationship continue to fascinate fans decades later. Now, in a recent revelation, Nicks opened up about the one thing she couldn't stand about Buckingham, pulling back the curtain on a dynamic that shaped some of the greatest hits in rock history. Before the meteoric rise of Fleetwood Mac, Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham had already built a foundation of both love and music. As the duo Buckingham-Nicks, they spent the early 70s chasing success, crafting music that highlighted their growing creative synergy. Behind the scenes, their romance was equally passionate, but already showing signs of strain. In 1975, when the duo joined Fleetwood Mac, their lives changed instantly. What began as an opportunity to rejuvenate the band quickly became the catalyst for global fame and intense personal challenges. Stevie and Lindsey's connection, both personal and artistic, brought a fresh energy that revitalized Fleetwood Mac. But with that new energy also came a dynamic that would prove to be as volatile as it was remarkable. From the start, their creative processes seemed destined to clash. Lindsey operated as a perfectionist, obsessing over every detail of their music, while Stevie thrived in a freer, more spontaneous environment. These differences, while initially productive, often created friction. As Stevie later remarked in a 2017 NPR interview, "We were two very different kinds of people. Lindsey was very particular and driven about every detail, while I needed freedom to let my songs breathe." Their contrasting approaches often fueled both their biggest successes and their most heated conflicts. The release of Fleetwood Mac's Rumors in 1977 cemented the group's place in music history. But what the audience heard as timeless classics were, in reality, raw, emotional snapshots of the chaos within the band. Songs like Dreams and Go Your Own Way were born out of the heartbreak of Stevie and Lindsey's very public breakup. Through the music, fans witnessed two people telling their side of the story, with Dreams capturing Stevie's hope for moving forward, while Go Your Own Way carried Lindsey's frustration and anger. Despite its success, Rumors marked the beginning of a long, tumultuous period for Stevie and Lindsey. Their personal and professional relationship, already crumbling under the weight of their split, was further strained by the pressures of fame and non-stop touring. The once romantic connection now became a source of lingering tension, a dynamic the entire band and eventually the fans couldn't help but notice. While the friction between Stevie and Lindsey often produced incredible music, it also exposed the deep cracks in their relationship. Their collaboration was celebrated by millions but came with a cost, one that would shape their legacy as much as the music they created. As the years went on, the tension between Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham became more visible, spilling from private disagreements into public controversies. One of the most notable breaking points came in 2018, when Buckingham was abruptly fired from Fleetwood Mac ahead of their world tour. While Fleetwood Mac released diplomatic statements at the time, Stevie later opened up in an interview with Rolling Stone, revealing that an incident at the MusiCares event pushed her to her limit. She described his behavior during her speech as dismissive and said, "It was no longer fun. It was no longer tolerable." For Buckingham, the story was different. In an interview with the Los Angeles Times, he called the decision a coup, claiming Stevie had given the band an ultimatum. Either he left or she would. The public nature of their rift sparked heated debate among fans, many of whom were torn between the two perspectives. This wasn't the first time their personal tensions overtook their professional roles. Their performances often seemed to mirror their fraught relationship. During the band's 1997 reunion for the dance, the intensity of their unresolved emotions was on full display. Their live performance of Silver Springs captivated audiences, with Stevie singing lines like, "You'll never get away from the sound of the woman that loves you," while staring directly at Lindsey. The moment became iconic, but for the band, it was yet another reminder of the emotional baggage they still carried. While Fleetwood Mac's success cemented their place in rock history, the personal dynamics within the band were far from harmonious. For Stevie Nicks, her relationship with Lindsey Buckingham was one of deep creative partnership, but also of increasing frustration. That frustration, which had built up over years of collaboration, would eventually surface in ways that couldn't be ignored. In her candid reflections over the years, Stevie has revealed moments that exemplified the tension she experienced working with Buckingham. Among the most cited issues was his controlling nature in the studio, while Buckingham's dedication to perfection led to some of Fleetwood Mac's Mac's most polished work, it often left Stevie feeling constrained and overshadowed. In a recent interview with The Guardian, Stevie confessed, "Sometimes it felt like he wanted to tell me who to be, not just musically, but in general. It was exhausting." This sense of creative and personal restriction was something Stevie found increasingly difficult to cope with, especially as their personal relationship had already unraveled. One of the more notorious breaking points came during Lindsey's return to the band in the late 1990s. During rehearsals for their reunion tour, reports surfaced of backstage arguments, with Stevie later stating in an interview with Rolling Stone that his behavior could be needlessly provocative. Though the specifics of these disputes were rarely made public at the time, Stevie's frustration became increasingly evident. Over time, the dynamic between the two became defined by cycles of reconciliation, followed by further conflict. Stevie's eventual breaking point wasn't a single moment, but the accumulation of years of unspoken grievances and professional tension. She described it as an overwhelming feeling of being constantly second-guessed, something she ultimately couldn't stand, according to the New York Times last year. While Stevie has acknowledged the immense musical achievements they created together, it's clear that the personal toll of their dynamic left a lasting impact, one that continued to shape their interactions for decades to come. After decades of turbulence, Stevie Nicks now reflects on her relationship with Lindsey Buckingham with a sense of realism and acceptance. While the tensions between them remain a significant part of their history, she has also acknowledged the brilliance of their creative partnership. In one interview, she admitted, "Despite everything, we made incredible music together." However, she remains candid about the challenges that define their relationship. "There was always love, but we couldn't make it work," Stevie explained, capturing the bittersweet truth of their time together. Their dynamic was as powerful as it was fraught, with their deep connection often fueling both their best work and their greatest conflicts. Since Buckingham's departure in 2018, there have been few signs of reconciliation. Instead, Stevie seems to have found a sense of peace by focusing on their shared musical legacy, a body of work that continues to resonate deeply with fans around the world, despite the personal challenges behind it. Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham's turbulent relationship undeniably shaped both their music and the legacy of Fleetwood Mac. Their creative tension served as both an engine for innovation and a source of division, resulting in music that remains iconic decades later. The push and pull of their partnership was reflected in their songwriting, particularly on albums like Rumors, which captured the raw emotions of heartbreak, anger, and longing. Even today, the impact of their dynamic is widely acknowledged. Stevie once remarked in an interview that their relationship, both personal and professional, was always central to the band's success, saying, "It was the drama that made it interesting." While that drama often strained the group, it also created a unique, relatable narrative that resonated deeply with fans. However, the costs of their complicated history are equally evident. Mick Fleetwood has referred to their relationship as both a gift and a curse, pointing out how their continued tension often threatened to overshadow the band's music. Their inability to fully reconcile reflects just how entwined their personal and professional lives became and how difficult it was to separate the two.